Marrying one of the richest men on earth sounds like winning life's biggest jackpot. Private jets, palaces, unlimited money. But sometimes, this is just a charade, hiding a world of endless pain that literally obliterates the victim. Today, we count down on a heartbreaking list of remarkable women who married the richest men in the world and disappeared shortly afterwards. Grab a seat because their stories will leave you devastated. Number 10. Ri Sol-ju, Queen of Horror. We start off with Ri Sol-ju, the first lady of one of the most fearfully mysterious and restricted nations in the world. Before her marriage, Ri Sol-ju appeared to live a life connected more to culture than to politics. Reports from South Korean intelligence agencies and international researchers suggest that she studied music and may have performed as a singer with North Korea's Onhasu Orchestra. Some accounts also indicate that she traveled abroad as part of North Korean cultural delegations performing at international events. At that stage, it was clear that Ri Sol-ju had been trying to make a name for herself and her career. But everything changed in 2009 when she suddenly tied the knot with Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. This was the beginning of her first disappearing act. For 3-4 years after her marriage, Ri Sol-ju completely vanished into thin air. Wives of Korean leaders are usually kept private and nameless. Sadly, Ri Sol-ju had begun to bear the brunt of this despite being married to the most powerful man in the country. Of course, her life is surrounded by immense privilege as the wife of one of the most powerful leaders on earth. Yet her life also appears confined within one of the most tightly controlled political systems in the world. North Korea remains one of the most secretive countries on earth, and the personal lives of its ruling family members are rarely explained to the outside world. In 2012, her identity was finally revealed to the world in a bid to modernize the North Korean system, but even this proves to be a charade. The deception is clear. Ri Sol-ju is the human facade of the dictatorial system, needed to soften important meetings and international events. But the new development changes nothing for Ri Sol-ju. She is still owned, silent, and disappears regularly for months like a household item brought out of the shelf when needed and discarded afterwards. Today, she appears decorated with luxurious items like her Christian Dior handbags and fashionable clothes, while her people wallow in poverty. However, she is drowning in her own golden cage, which is something to not envy. Moving on to the next. Number 9. Asma al-Assad, Syria's First Lady. Armed with a prestigious background, an amazing career, and a beauty to die for, Asma al-Assad entered one of the most powerful political families in the Middle East, surrounded by enormous wealth and authority. Yet her life today often appears like a palace that also functions as a carefully guarded cage. Before becoming Syria's First Lady, Asma lived a life that many young professionals in London would consider ideal. She was born in 1975 in Acton to Syrian parents who had built successful careers in Britain, and you could pretty much say she had it all. Her father, Dr. Fawaz Akras, was a respected cardiologist, while her mother, Sahar Otri Akras, worked in diplomatic circles connected to the Syrian embassy. Their home emphasized education and global awareness, and Asma seemed pretty self-aware. Asma attended Queen's College in London and later studied computer science and French literature at King's College London. After graduating in 1996, she entered the financial industry, first working at Deutsche Bank and later at JP Morgan. Her career placed her inside one of the world's largest financial centers, surrounded by international deals and ambitious professionals. Then one decision changed everything. In December 2000, she married Bashar al-Assad, who had just become president of Syria following the death of his father, Hafez al-Assad, a leader who had ruled the country for nearly 30 years. The marriage transformed Asma overnight from a banker in London into the first lady of what was already a tightly controlled political system. But many saw her marriage as a good thing. The West was completely in love with her, and for several years, international observers viewed her as a modernizing influence and a reformer who would bring her light to a country already drowning in darkness. At that time, Vogue even described her as a rose in the desert. But then something happened that proved she was none of those things. The Arab Spring protests reached Syria in 2011. Demonstrations escalated into a devastating civil war that displaced millions and destroyed entire cities. And while everyone looked to the Western-educated First Lady to at least do something to influence events inside the palace, something truly heartbreaking was unfolding. Leaked emails in 2012 revealed Asma's purchases of luxury items from European retailers during the height of the conflict. It was as though she was on a shopping spree while her people drowned in blood. The reality became clear. Asma's marriage into power did not mean she had power to influence anything. As a matter of fact, she is in a golden cage, drowning in luxury while being detached from the experiences of her people. To many, she has become the First Lady of Blood, caged in ways that can only be speculated about. Today, Asma remains in Syria beside her husband while facing international sanctions, criticism, and acute myeloid leukemia. Her story highlights a difficult reality about marrying into absolute power. The wealth and luxury might not equal the pain. And the next story shows how a crown can transform an ordinary life into a carefully scripted royal performance. Number 8. Queen Suthida. No other story better demonstrates what happens to an ordinary woman who sells herself off into luxury. Queen Suthida lives within one of the wealthiest monarchies in the world, surrounded by palaces and royal prestige. Yet Thailand's royal system often resembles a stage where every public moment must follow traditions written generations ago. Before becoming Queen of Thailand, Suthida Tijai lived a life that looked remarkably ordinary. She worked as a flight attendant for Thai Airways before joining the Royal Thai Guard, the military unit responsible for protecting the royal family. Her rise within the organization attracted attention because she advanced through the ranks quickly and eventually received the title of general. But this was just the beginning of what was to come. In May 2019, only days before Crown Prince Maha Vajiralongkorn's coronation as king, Suthida married. The revelation of the marriage itself sent a striking message to the world, as Suthida was seen lying flat before the king's feet in the clip. It was a message of total surrender, or to put it more correctly, a sell-off. Nothing has remained the same for Suthida since she became Queen of Thailand. Sadly, she now wallows in a cage of protocols and silence and has retreated further into the backstage alongside other props of the king. But the struggle doesn't end there. Since her marriage, Suthida has found herself in a fierce and constant competition for the king's attention with other consorts. It is a heated battle that would not end anytime soon, especially with formidable consorts like Sininat in the scene. Thailand's royal institution controls assets worth tens of billions of dollars through the Crown Property Bureau. The organization manages land, corporate holdings, and investments that place it among the richest royal families on earth. Yet wealth is only part of the royal life of the Queen of Thailand. As of today, she is said to constantly spend time at the Hotel Valdeg in Engelberg, isolated from her peers by her crown. Things do not get better for the next queen. Number 7. Melania Trump. Melania Trump married into immense wealth and global celebrity, yet her time as First Lady of the United States showed how quickly luxury can transform into a life where privacy almost disappears. Before entering American politics, Melania Knaus built a successful career as a fashion model. She was born in Slovenia in 1970 and began modeling during her teenage years before working in major European fashion centers such as Milan and Paris. Eventually, she moved to New York City to pursue opportunities in the American fashion industry. It was there that she met Donald Trump, a real estate developer whose name appeared on hotels, casinos, and skyscrapers across the United States. The couple married in 2005 during a high-profile ceremony in Palm Beach, Florida. The reception took place at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and attracted celebrities, business leaders, and political figures. At that stage, Melania's life reflected the lifestyle associated with billionaire social circles. She attended international events, traveled frequently, and lived in a luxurious penthouse in Trump Tower overlooking Manhattan. But this was just the beginning of her own dilemma. In 2016, Donald Trump won the United States presidential election and Melania became First Lady. Her restrictions began from this very point. Every action of a First Lady receives international attention. Clothing choices, speeches, travel plans. Even simple gestures quickly become global headlines, but Melania did not sign up for this. Melania made an unusual decision after the inauguration by remaining in New York for several months while her son Baron completed the school year. The decision sparked widespread discussions about how Melania did not want to be there, but marriage washed her cage, making her own choices disappear. Melania's response to her situation has not been subtle. In 2018, Melania visited a migrant detention center while wearing a jacket with the words, "I really don't care, do you?" printed on the back. The image spread worldwide within hours and generated intense media analysis. After leaving the White House in 2021, Melania significantly reduced her public appearances and now spends most of her time at the Trump family's private properties. Even after being reinstated for his second term, she tries her best not to be deeply involved, longing for any moment of respite that presents itself. Her disappearance is in losing herself while trying to conform to the requirements of marrying one of the richest men on Earth. 6. Princess Diana. And now we turn to a famous but forgotten story of a marriage mistake made by one of the most loved women who ever lived. In July 1981, the world watched what looked like the perfect fairy tale. At just 20 years old, Lady Diana Spencer walked into St. Paul's Cathedral to marry Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne. Her wedding dress, with its 25-foot train, became one of the most memorable images of the event. More than 750 million people watched the ceremony on television, and newspapers called it the wedding of the century. For many viewers, it looked like the ultimate dream. But behind the spectacle was a very different reality. From the moment Diana entered the royal family, her life was shaped by strict rules and constant public attention. Royal protocol governed what she wore, how she greeted people, where she went, and how she appeared in public. Every movement was watched, every appearance was planned, and that pressure only grew as the British media became obsessed with her. Then the marriage began to crack in public. In the early 1990s, rumors spread that Prince Charles was involved with Camilla Parker Bowles. In 1995, Diana confirmed the crisis in her BBC interview when she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." That line made the situation impossible to ignore. But here is what made her story so striking. Even with public sympathy, leaving royal life was never simple. Diana was not only a wife, she was the Princess of Wales and the mother of future heirs to the throne. Those roles carried expectations that were difficult to escape. The marriage ended in divorce in 1996, but the pressure did not end. Diana remained one of the most photographed women in the world. Then, on August 31, 1997, she died in a controversial car crash in Paris at age 36 while being pursued by paparazzi. Her funeral was watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people. While Diana eventually escaped the cage of the palace, she was never free from the shackles and scars it placed on her. And they both followed her to her grave, causing her to disappear forever. Now grab your seatbelts because the ride doesn't get smooth from here. Number 5. Princess Haya bint Hussein. By now, it should already be clear that fairy tale marriages don't exist, but Princess Haya bint Hussein's is even more heartbreaking. Princess Haya bint Hussein married into extraordinary wealth as the wife of one of the richest rulers in the world. Yet her story demonstrates how royal power can quickly turn into a high-profile international legal battle. Haya was born into Jordan's royal family as the daughter of King Hussein. Her upbringing placed her inside one of the most respected monarchies in the Middle East. Unlike many royal figures, she also built an impressive personal career. She studied philosophy, politics, and economics at Oxford University and later represented Jordan in equestrian events at the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney. She also became widely known for humanitarian work and served as a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations World Food Programme. By the early 2000s, Princess Haya was already recognized internationally for both her royal background and her charitable work. But in 2004, she married Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, as his 6th wife, and everything changed. Sheikh Mohammed's wealth is staggering. He oversees vast global investments connected to aviation, tourism, real estate, and finance. The marriage appeared to unite 2 powerful royal families, and from the outside, the partnership appeared powerful and stable. Then events took a dramatic turn in 2019 when dark truths about the marriage were revealed. When no one expected it, Princess Haya fled Dubai and traveled to London with her 2 children. She filed legal proceedings in the British High Court, afterwards seeking protection orders. The complaint was of harassment, intimidation, and provocation. According to her, she feared for her life and needed protection from abuse. These demands suggested that Haya may have endured an abusive marriage for long. According to media outlets, she had been asking for divorce for so long but was denied. She had even tried to escape on different occasions but was intercepted. Now Sheikh Mohammed accused Princess Haya of cheating with her bodyguard, but this was denied by Haya, who stated that the affair was fabricated by her husband. These findings attracted global attention, and the legal battle that ensued shook the world. Fortunately, in 2022, Princess Haya won the case, getting full custody of her children, and her husband was forced to give her $728 million in compensation. Today, Princess Haya lives primarily in the United Kingdom, far from the royal court she once represented. Since her divorce, she has vanished from the spotlight completely, retreating to a quieter life with her children. This is a far cry from her glory days before her marriage, when she was vibrant, full of life and achievements. And this leads to the next story on our list. Number 4. Zhang Zetian. Zhang Zetian became one of the youngest billionaires in China through marriage, surrounded by luxury, international influence, and powerful business connections. Unknown to her, this was a move that would lead to her undoing. Before her marriage, Zetian had already become a fan favorite. Her rise began with a moment that seemed almost ordinary. In 2009, a photograph of Zhang Zetian holding a cup of milk tea appeared online. The image spread rapidly across Chinese social media platforms and quickly turned her into an internet celebrity. Millions of people began referring to her as Milk Tea Sister, a nickname that followed her into adulthood. At the time, Zhang Zetian was still a student. Her popularity brought invitations into elite social circles and eventually helped her gain admission to Tsinghua University, one of China's most prestigious universities. Her life already seemed unusually fortunate because she combined education, fame, and connections within China's rising generation of entrepreneurs. Then it happened. In 2015, Zhang Zetian married Richard Liu, the founder of JD.com, one of China's largest e-commerce companies. JD.com processes billions of dollars in transactions each year and competes with some of the most powerful technology firms in Asia. The marriage instantly placed Zhang Zetian within China's billionaire elite. Financial estimates suggested that her net worth exceeded $1 billion through her husband's corporate holdings. She attended fashion events in Europe, charity galas in China, and business conferences with international investors. From the outside, the story looked like a modern fairy tale about youth, beauty, and success. But the narrative changed suddenly in 2018. Richard Liu was arrested in Minneapolis after a university student accused him of sexual assault. Although prosecutors later declined to pursue criminal charges and a civil settlement was eventually reached, the case triggered enormous global media attention, making Zetian a laughingstock. In the eyes of the public, she was no longer Milk Tea Sister, but Sister Matcha. Yet leaving was not an option as it would affect the JD stock price. This event was key in understanding how strong Zetian's cage is, leading to her disappearance in recent times. Observers have noticed that she has gradually reduced her public appearances and social media activity. Selling her Australian penthouse for half the price, she has decided to go back to school to create something new for herself. She was a bright star before marriage, but now has to repair the damages of the wrong matrimony. It's time for another unfortunate case. Number 3. Princess Charlene of Monaco. At number 3 is a woman who didn't want the lie of a fairy tale marriage from the onset. Before becoming a princess, Charlene Wittstock had already built a respected career. She was born in Zimbabwe in 1978 and later moved to South Africa, where she developed into a competitive swimmer. Her dedication eventually led her to represent South Africa at the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. She also competed in several international championships and earned recognition as one of South Africa's top swimmers. Her life at that time revolved around training, competitions, and travel across the world. Everything changed after she met Prince Albert II of Monaco during a swimming event in 2000. Albert ruled Monaco, a tiny Mediterranean principality known for luxury real estate and massive private wealth. Their relationship developed slowly over the following years, and Charlene gradually began appearing beside him at official events. In July 2011, the couple married in a royal ceremony that reportedly cost around $70 million. The event attracted worldwide media coverage and thousands of visitors to Monaco. For many observers, the story resembled a modern fairy tale. An Olympic athlete had become a princess in one of Europe's richest states. Yet rumors surfaced even before the ceremony concluded. Several media reports suggested Charlene had attempted to leave Monaco not once but thrice shortly before the wedding in order to escape the marriage. However, it is believed that she was intercepted every single time and brought back. The possibility that Princess Charlene was being forced into a life she didn't want rocked the media for years. And while these allegations were denied, the evidence of their strained marriage was everywhere. For instance, in 2021, Charlene traveled to South Africa for conservation work and remained there for months after suffering a serious ear, nose, and throat infection that prevented air travel. She was separated from her family for almost a year, but everything moved smoothly around her husband, suggesting something fishy. When she eventually returned to Monaco, she was rumored to be moved to Switzerland for treatment. As of today, Charlene remains confined in her golden cage. She is said to be most unhappy and never smiles at public events. At one point, she even shaved her head in a punk rock-style haircut, cementing her rebellion in the public eye. Monaco still represents luxury and prestige, but Charlene's story shows that royal titles are not always the keys to bliss. Sometimes it only leads to oblivion. The next story shows how wealth combined with political power can collapse into scandal. Number 2. Rosmah Mansor. Rosmah Mansor once lived among enormous political influence and luxury in Malaysia. Yet the same wealth that symbolized power later became evidence in one of the largest corruption scandals in Southeast Asia. For years, Rosmah was widely known as the wife of Najib Razak, Malaysia's prime minister from 2009 until 2018. During that period, she lived close to the center of government authority in a country experiencing rapid economic growth and strong international investment. Her public life included diplomatic events, charity activities, and appearances alongside world leaders. Malaysia's leadership maintained relationships with governments and investors across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. The Prime Minister's residence regularly hosted international delegations, and Rosmah often appeared beside her husband during official events. For a long time, her lifestyle appeared closely connected to prestige and influence. Then Malaysia experienced a dramatic political shift. In 2018, Najib Razak lost power after the country's general election. Soon afterward, investigators intensified their examination of the financial scandal involving Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund, known as 1MDB. The case involved billions of dollars that had allegedly been diverted through complex international financial networks. When the authorities searched the properties connected to the former prime minister and his family, what investigators discovered stunned observers. Police reported seizing 567 designer handbags from luxury apartments linked to the family. Many of the bags were Hermes Birkin handbags, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars each. Investigators also seized 423 watches and more than 12,000 pieces of jewelry, including diamonds, gold ornaments, and rare gemstones. Officials later estimated the total value of the confiscated items at approximately $273 million. The discovery became global news almost immediately. Investigators later accused Rosmah of using her influence to help secure government contracts related to a solar energy project for rural schools. In 2022, a Malaysian court found her guilty of corruption and sentenced her to 10 years in prison, along with a massive fine, although appeals remain ongoing. Rosmah's marriage may have been done willingly, but it sent her down a dark road impossible to recover from. And the next story reveals what happens when wealth reaches an almost unimaginable scale. 1. Nita Ambani. Nita Ambani lives inside one of the most extraordinary concentrations of wealth in the world. As the wife of Mukesh Ambani, she belongs to a family whose business empire dominates large parts of India's economy. Yet wealth at that level can also create a life separated from ordinary public experience. Mukesh Ambani leads Reliance Industries, a massive conglomerate operating across telecommunications, energy, retail, and digital technology. The company generates tens of billions of dollars in annual revenue and holds enormous influence within India's economy. At the center of the family's lifestyle stands their residence known as Antilia. Located in Mumbai, the building rises 27 stories above the city and reportedly cost around $2 billion to construct. The residence contains multiple swimming pools, a private cinema, several helipads, and a garage capable of storing more than 160 vehicles. Hundreds of employees maintain the property every day. Antilia is widely considered one of the most expensive private homes ever built, and it is all under the Ambani family's rule. So you might wonder how this caged her into disappearance. Well, security around the Ambani family is extremely strict because their business influence extends across major sectors of the national economy. For them, travel requires careful coordination and large security teams. Even ordinary activities such as walking through crowded streets or visiting public restaurants are difficult. The residence towers above Mumbai like a vertical palace overlooking the Arabian Sea. Its scale reflects extraordinary success, yet it also represents distance from everyday life. Nita Ambani's role extends beyond the residence. She leads the Reliance Foundation, which supports large philanthropic programs in education, healthcare, and rural development across India. Her position connects business influence with major charitable initiatives. Yet her identity remains closely tied to one of the most powerful corporate families in the world by marriage, and this is both her blessing and her curse. But what do you think about the sad stories of these remarkable women? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe to her status for more real-life stories behind the world's richest families.